Come on in, y'all. Come on in. Come on in. I'm getting ready.
I introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin, a speaker, consultant, and author's intention is teaching. Their talk is to broaden their vision, the things they weren't taught when they brought up as children. I introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin. It's Dr. Joe Griffin. I introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin, a speaker, consultant, and author's intention is
to
broaden their vision, the things they weren't taught when they brought up as children. Reach for the top, regardless of situations, predicaments, or your conditions. He's making history, all of the districts, increasing retention from teachers. 50 to 80% that ain't all that you hear me. He is the mentor. He paved the way with his tip methodology, really. Dream, be persistent, face fears, seek change, go out and go get it. This what you learning with Dr. Joe Griffin. With Dr. Joe Griffin, yeah. He says recognize trauma, push past the pain. If you got a problem, go look at his frame. Work your perspective and look at it change. Find a goal, set it in critical thing. Manage time, self-awareness. These are the few of the things he's trying to get you to do every day. Do every day. Led 5 schools to increase test scores with his teacher principal collaboration. Things he give to you will have you take you drive to the next level. But first, you need to get some fuel at gas station. Supporting education leaders, creating a culture for kids that'll last for ages. Lack of access to quality professional development, that's outrageous. Got his doctorate in education. Leadership, research, make changes. Need to put the kids first and raise them. Need to teach them they worth, stop playing. Later on, they gon' run this nation. Dr. Joe with his dissertation. Taught to those who would fix, make changes. I introduce you to Dr. Joe Griffin, a speaker, consultant, and author's intentions. The teaching that talk is to broaden their vision, the things they weren't taught when they brought up as children. Reach for the top, regardless of situations, predicaments, or your conditions. He's making history, all of the districts, increasing retention from teachers. 50 to 80% they ain't all that you hear me. He is the mentor. He paved the way with his dip methodology, really. Dream, be persistent, face fears, see change, go out and go get it. This what you learning with Dr. Joe Griffin. With Dr. Joe Griffin.
Great day, leaders. Welcome to the Speaking Life into You Leadership live stream. I am your host, Dr. Joe Griffin, where we talk leadership dynamics, personal and professional growth, educational trends, and provide solutions to help you with school improvement to create a culture of collaboration. Let's go! Excited as always to be here with you all. Week 32. This is my 32nd time leading in with that opening. And my, I know we've been doing a great job providing value and just being here, standing in the gap for educators and leaders so that we can ensure that we create those cultures of collaboration, that we are able to keep improving our teamwork, accelerate self-awareness, and just overall be the best that we can be. One thing about it, if we are trying to reach excellence in ourselves, the next thing to do is to empower others to do the same. So feel good about it today. And I just want to know how y'all doing today out there. Sign in. Let me know where you're streaming in from. It's an amazing show today. We're talking about something that's going to that can impact all educators, that can impact all schools, that can impact all districts. And we're talking about right now and beyond. And that's what it's all about, you all. Again, just welcome. Make sure you sign in. I want to definitely lift everyone up, anyone who is going through anything right now. I want to take the time today to let you know that it's only temporary. It's just a moment of time that you have to deal with these stresses and these issues. And guess what? They're going to work themselves off. You're going to do the self-care that you need. You're going to do the prayer that you need. And I know we're not religious and try not to be political, but again, you got to submit to something. And many times that's going to be that higher power, you all. That's going to be that higher power. So we got a wonderful one for you today. We're talking about continuous learning, embracing continuous learning. Again, make sure you sign in. But when we start talking about embracing continuous learning, I want to lead in to let you know that a growth mindset is essential for acceleration. A growth mindset is essential for acceleration. If you want to speed up the process, if you want to continue to work toward your end goal, if you want to keep growing, you got to understand that a growth mindset is essential if you want to accelerate. If you want to put your team in a place to accelerate, a growth mindset is essential. And I'm going to give you a few points before we get into the main body of our discussion today. And make sure you chime in with your questions. Make sure you chime in with your comments. If we're saying something that you like, definitely make a comment about it. We want to hear. We want to hear. You know, again, collaboration is a two-way street. So when I come to you each week, I'm inviting you to participate in the conversation. And that's whether I have a guest or whether I'm alone. And today, I am alone today. Women's History Month. Want to definitely continue to shout that our women have been the backbone of the country for so long. And not just organizationally and culturally, but individually as well in our lives. You know, in many of our lives, women have set the precedent for what we can be, what we can do, and also where we're headed. They've been visionaries. I had a wonderful guest lined up today, wonderful female guest lined up for today, but some things came up and she's dealing with some deaths, very close deaths in the family. So if you all would, let's take a moment of silence for her as well. I'm not going to say her name because that would leak her identity, and she'll be on the show at a later point. But I definitely want to have a moment of silence for her because she's dealing with a lot. The loss of 2 nieces within a span of months, and as well as a lot of other close family members also just weren't able to participate today. And we understand that because self-care is crucial if you're going to be the best educated that you can be. A growth mindset. The best educators, they never stop growing. They never stop learning. They never stop aspiring to be better, to be greater, to make a more impactful existence, to have a more impactful existence, to do what they were born to do. So the best educators, the best leaders, the best people, they never stop growing. You know, so many times, and I've been seeing it from a different side here lately, we can grow with and through anyone. And the moment that we begin to put down ideas, the moment we begin to shut people out, the moment we begin to close ourselves in a box and not be able to continue to learn, continue to grow, we stifle what we're able to be. So remember that the best educators never stop growing. It's crucial. Also, growth requires discomfort. You've got to get uncomfortable in order to grow. Think about it like this. If I'm doing the same things that I've always done, I can't grow. But the moment I'm able to do something different, add something to it, add some complexities to it, it might be a little bit uncomfortable. But without discomfort, there is no growth. So we need to always keep that in the back burner of our minds, that if I'm becoming uncomfortable in a situation, it's probably going to force me to grow, probably going to force me to dig a little bit deeper. So again, that's crucial, you all. Feedback is fuel. It's not failure. It's fuel. And that's whether it's fuel feedback that you consider good for your growth, or if it's feedback that you consider not to be good for your growth. It's still fuel. What do you mean by that, Dr. Joe? What do you mean feedback should be fuel, not failure? When I get that feedback, when I get that extra perspective, that other eye, so to speak, on my work or on something that I'm doing or that we're doing, we got to ensure that we take that feedback into consideration because it came from a place. Sure, we hope that it came from a place of love, a place of support, a place of guidance, a place where they wanted to push us to the next level. But again, you got to make sure that you use it as feedback. It's fuel. Use your feedback as fuel. Add it to the fire. If it's feedback that you don't desire, still take it, listen to it, and use it to your advantage. because it may be something that can help you. It may be a different perspective that helps you step outside of your own zone of genius. This is crucial, you all. Feedback, it should be fuel, not failure. Don't consider feedback as failure. Effort and strategy, they create success, not just talent. It's not just about the most talented people. It's not just about the most talented team. It's the effort that we put in together, that collaborative piece that's going to push our teams to next, greater, better, deeper levels, higher levels of student achievement, greater levels of increasing teacher capacity, and overall increased instructional effectiveness. As a leader, as an educator, as a teacher, that's what we're searching for. That's what we're pushing for. That's what we're working for each and every day. Collaboration accelerates growth. Again, remember that a growth mindset is essential for acceleration. Therefore, collaboration, me working with, through others, accelerates that process. Because again, I got different perspectives. I got more information. I got someone or a team that can help me improve on what we already have in place. So as an educator, again, a growth mindset is essential. It's important that you remember that the best educators never stop growing. Growth requires discomfort. Take feedback for fuel instead of failure. And remember that effort and strategy alone won't do it. Effort and strategy create success, not talent. Crucial, you all. And again, collaboration accelerates the growth. Like, comment, subscribe, share, you all. Definitely want to get the information out. We've got educators, we got leaders that need it, you all. So don't be selfish with it. Let's empower others. Let's like, comment, subscribe, as well as share, because we're going to have some great information tonight. We got to embrace continuous learning. And that's an effort in adding longevity to your leadership in itself. Let's go here, you all. Now, why does continuous learning even matter? And what does it have to do with right now? Because I know I've got educators on here that want to hear about test acceleration, test readiness, and being able to put teachers, most importantly, students, in positions where they can master the test. But again, why does continuous learning matter, and how does that focus in on test readiness also? First off, as leaders, we've got to have the mindset of learners. You've got to constantly be on a pattern of trying to be better. The moment you think you made it, the moment you think you got all the leadership answers, that's the moment something's going to hit you in the back of the head. And we don't want to be attacked from the back. We want to be prepared. We want to be ready. So in doing so, we have to understand that the mindset of a learner is important if you're going to push a school toward improvement. You say, again, why does continuous learning matter? Teachers, educators, leaders, we want to improve instruction. We want to be able to put in interventions that make a difference for students. We want to be able to make sure that students are test ready. Now, in doing that and making sure that students are test ready, we also have to always be properly equipping and empowering our educators, because they're pushing the information down to students. So it's important to understand that not only do we have to have the mindset of a learner, but when you improve your instruction, when you are able to add interventions for student readiness, that immediately adds to continuous learning. It adds to the continuous learning of the teacher, because they are constantly improving on their skills and building up teaching capacity, but it also adds to the continuous learning of the student, because they are now given more opportunities to master the standards. So it is crucial, you all, that we understand that continuous learning does matter, and it makes a difference right now. Don't get in the mindset of putting off the continuous learning piece. We want to put a lot of things off. I get it. Let's wait till next year. It's the end of the year. We've already got things going on. I understand that. But at the same time, you got to realize that continuous learning matters. We don't want to get stagnant. We don't want to be complacent. We want to constantly push the envelope, constantly push the needle, constantly push ourselves to next greater levels. Again, what's one thing that has made you a better educator? Put it in the chat, you all. I know I've got people in with us, but tell us, what's one of the things that made you a better educator? What was something that pushed you to a greater level to help you to continue to learn, to continue to manifest, and continue to develop into the educator that you're working toward being? All this is crucial, you all. And you say, why does continuous learning matter? Now, we're going to keep it moving, you all, because, again, I like to make sure that we have presentations that are thorough, that are sequential, that make sense, that you can use. And as always, I'm going to give you strategies. I'm going to give you things that you can implement right now, right today, as always. Continuous learning that improves student achievement. Wow. Or student outcomes. What does that mean, Dr. Joe? First off, we've got to understand that continuous learning is not just about professional development. What? What do you mean? It's not just about professional development. Right. There's a lot more to continuous learning other than just PD. We want to have PD. We want to participate. We want to be able to bring back information, strategies to our schools and to our districts. However, continuous learning is also comprised of making real-time adjustments. If I'm making an adjustment, I'm continuously learning about students. I'm going to say that again. I'm going to let that sink in, because continuous learning that improves student outcomes, that means I'm also learning about the student. And if I'm diving in that data, if I'm working toward building up a student's strength, if I'm working toward improving their weaknesses, I've got to ensure that I'm on a pattern of continuous learning that works exactly toward that. Real-time adjustments. If a student has already mastered the concept, I know that there are other concepts within our curriculum that need to be pushed. Yeah, it may require me to do some differentiated instruction. It may require me to group some students, but it's going to be so much better for the results on the back end, for the students individually, as well as for the school and for the district collectively. Real-time adjustments. That's one way to make sure that continuous learning improves student outcome. How else can continuous learning improve student outcomes? Apply new strategies. Simple as that. Those high yielding, those highly impactful strategies. If you haven't been using them, you want to implement them. And it takes a continuous learning or a growth mindset to reach for more, to put in techniques that I've never used before. That's crucial, you are. But if I'm on a path to a continuous learning that improves student outcomes, I'm game for trying new strategies. I'm game for implementing stations, because I know there's a high yield when we use stations. And that's whether you're at the elementary, middle, or high school level. I know this. If I'm continuous learning to improve student outcomes, I'm adding in strategies like reciprocal teaching, because I know it's going to impact that reading comprehension individually and collectively. As a leader, you have to be able to foresee all of this. You got to work toward continuous learning that improves student outcomes. It doesn't just happen, you all. It doesn't just happen. So again, you got to make those real-time adjustments, apply some new high-yielding instructional strategies, and lastly, you got to refine the teaching to meet the needs of the students. If we have taken a couple of formative assessments during the class period. And we haven't made it to the summative yet. So I'm knowing all along that the students are either getting it or they're not getting it. And of course, if they're not getting it, we got to refine those teaching practices to meet the needs of those students. And it takes a continuous learning mindset, a growth mindset to do that. Because so often we can get in there and we don't want to change anything. I've been teaching it like this for 5 years, Mr. Johnson said. Why should I change? Every other class before me, they picked up on the methods. They picked up on the strategies. They picked up on the formulas. Well, guess what? This particular class didn't do it, Mr. Johnson. We scored at about a 50% mastery rate. I'm so used to you scoring at an 80% mastery rate. How can we refine? How can we change up, add to what you're already doing to ensure that the needs of the students are met through your instructional practices? This is a conversation that as leaders, as teachers, we can't shy away from. This is not a conversation that you can wait for next year to have, because you're coming up towards state testing. And not only that, you have to think about testing and beyond. So, yeah, we teach skills. We have end-of-year assessments. But guess what? Those skills, those objectives that those students have mastered, they also have to carry them through life. They also have to be able to use them in various other ways. They've got to be able to synergize. They've got to be able to put it all together in the real world, in real time. So again, continuous learning that improves student outcomes, real-time adjustments, understand that you got to apply some new strategies, and you got to refine your teaching. You got to refine your teaching to meet the needs of the students. And as leaders, you have to ensure that that's happening. You got to get in there and get elbow to elbow. You can't just tell Ms. Johnson to go do it. What if she doesn't know how? What if she has no idea on what to do to refine her teaching practices? Because these are only practices that she has used. So as a leader now, as an instructional leader, I got to be able to support. I got to be able to come in, motivate you first off to want to be able to do something more. And then I've got to help you with the strategy. I've got to give you that information. I've got to set you up with the bubble charts and thinking maps and graphic organizer information so that you can dig in. And not only that, and I know I said it's not only about PD, but it is also inclusive of PD. So now I'm going to come back and add some professional development to bag it up and to complete that feedback cycle and to make sure that leaders and teachers are fed with the information that they need. We can't make this up. This is something that we got to get in there. We got to grind in and make sure that we're doing as educators and as leaders. Crucial, you all. Crucial, you all. I can't make this up. What are some things that you have done to ensure that continuous learning improves student outcomes? Put it in the chat. Again, you all like, comment, subscribe. We got information for you today, you all. Yes, indeed. As we continue, y'all, because if you can't tell by now, through 32 weeks, I love this. I love being able to talk education. I love being able to share. I love being able to reciprocate. I love to be able to listen. I love to be able to collaborate about educational processes and practices. So this fuels my fire. We talked about earlier about use feedback as fuel, but just being able to get in it because you love it, because you know you're impactful, you're making a difference in somebody's life. Because guess what? We got leaders and teachers that's tuning in every single week. So I know that some of these strategies are being used in our schools. Some of these strategies are being used in our schools. So let's continue to use best practices and just continue to try to be the best we can be, you all. Now we're talking about some strategies that you can use to improve test readiness right now. Why is this essential? Why is it essential to use strategies for using continuous learning to improve test readiness right this minute? again, as I've already said, you got to make adjustments. Adjust, adapt, and be flexible. As an educator, we already know we got plans, but you got to make adjustments in instruction. And you got to make adjustments in systems. You got to make adjustments in everything you do. If not, we're just going to wait to the end of the year to make all the adjustments for next year. No, you got to adjust, adapt, and be flexible throughout the year. It takes on time, real time, in time adjustments for students to increase their performance. On time, in time, in real time, so that you can increase student performance, so that you can have students prepared for not only their assessments, but also beyond. Because again, as we have to pay attention to the assessments, we also want to make sure that we're teaching toward mastery. Because if we're teaching toward mastery, we're teaching toward growth, guess what? They're going to catch the standard. They're going to master the standard. So again, continue to push. Use those strategies that you know you can. Adjust, adapt, be flexible. The educational landscape continues to change each and every year, sometimes each quarter, depending on where you are, because you can be in a district that changes up every semester, or you could be in a district that just goes through random changes, or perhaps it's changes that aren't stuck to during the school year. However it is, you got to make sure that you understand that education continues to change. It continues to evolve. And if we understand that education is continuing to change, it's continuing to evolve, we're going to make sure that we focus on our continuous learning to improve student outcome. Next, have classroom assessment that mimic the state test. They've got to match in complexity and format. So what do you mean by that, Dr. Joe? How can I implement this, what you're telling me? Making sure that my test items match in complexity and format of those test items that they'll see in their high stakes testing, whether it be state testing, ACT testing, SAT testing, or other high stakes tests. First off, many schools, many teachers and educators do a bell ringer or a power up, whatever your name or terminology for that opening exercise. Make sure that those questions are in test format. Make sure they look just like the items that come from those high stakes tests that we're referring to. This is crucial, you all. Another thing that you can do as you go through your units, as you go through your various sections in your curriculum, you can itemize state test items that fit just that particular objective. Say, for instance, if you have an objective that tells you to pull the main idea. All right. So if we are able to pull the main idea from those particular objectives, we then can go on and perhaps do it with more. So I want to be able to see those type of questions. You want to be able to have those type of questions prepared when you hit that unit. So now I've got 8, 9, 10 main idea questions or examples of main idea questions that fall right in this unit that we already studied. This is important, y'all. So now you're not only you're compartmentalizing the objectives. Now, you're not teaching it in isolation because you still have to synthesize them, but now I'm able to pull them out and see where they go. Because remember, objectives build off of one another. They all work toward the next goals, the next standards. So it's crucial that we understand that process. So make sure, again, you want to make sure you adjust, adapt, you remain flexible through it all. You keep in mind that the educational landscape continues to change. And also you want to make sure that you provide items to students, sample test items to students that look like the items that they'll see on state tests. They use the language that they'll see on state tests. This is important because if not, I'm preparing you for something that you won't see. I'm going to say that again. If I don't use these type of items and you get on the test and you don't understand the questions, it's probably a matter that I did not ask you those questions or that I did not present those questions to you in the manner that they will be presented. So again, that's crucial, you all. What's an effective strategy that you all use? Talk to us. Definitely want to hear from you. Definitely want to hear from you. Good evening, Dr. Houston. Thank you for your comment. Definitely appreciate you joining. We cooking tonight. We're cooking tonight. What are some effective strategies that you all have used and that you're using and that you're implementing? All right. All of this is crucial. Like, comment, subscribe, share. You all like, comment, subscribe, share. Now, as we push forward, I want to give you some strategies. I want to give you some strategies. I've given you several already, along with some mindset concepts. I hope you listen. If not, make sure you go back and listen to the replay. But a few strategies that you can use to improve test readiness. Number one, data-driven adjustments. We talked about adjustments prior, but now I'm going to get more specific with you. I want to dig in just a little bit here. Data-driven adjustments. You got to pivot as necessary, leaders, educators. You got to make changes as necessary. If I'm taking benchmarks and I can already see that the data has taken a nosedive, the data is not where we want to be. What makes me think that it's going to get where we need it to be if we don't make these crucial adjustments in a timely manner? I'm going to say that again. If we don't make these adjustments in a timely manner, how do we expect to work toward the results? Because remember, I talk to you all the time about it's a daily process. It's a daily grind. You're working toward the results at the end. That means we're making adjustments also. We don't just put in the plan and let it drive on autopilot. We got to ensure we got checkpoints. We got these data points, and we're making adjustments. We're discussing it. We're collaborating. It's not just one person. It's a team. Because again, when you have that team in place, you get more perspectives. Any of you all had problems on your teams before? I know you have. I know you have because we all have. But in order to get through some of that, again, collaboration has to be one of the main things that you're pushing through your organization. So data-driven adjustments help ensure that you pivot as necessary. If we're trending upward in one area of the data, we want to ensure that we provide enrichment. If we are descending in one area of the data, we want to make sure that we're providing remediation. And again, it's got to be individualized. Okay. We don't want to be going back through everything with some of the students who have already mastered those concepts. They can move on. So again, that's why I mentioned remediation as well as enrichment. One of the things that you want to do down the stretch, educators, leaders, you want to use high impact review techniques. You say, what? What's high impact review techniques? Again, it's targeted instruction. When we have the data available, we got to use it. We got to use it to ensure that we target the instruction where it needs to go. So in doing so, we want to use some high-end, some high-impact, high-yielding review techniques. Now, this may be comprised of grouping by their strengths as well as their challenges in the data. It may come from you putting students together that are on different areas of the spectrum. I mean, you might have a high learner and then you might have a struggling learner together. Whatever it is, you got to use some high impact review techniques, something out of the box. Be creative. Think of ways that students can learn at higher level and put the systems in place. peer-to-peer learning techniques. I talked to you earlier about two of them. Peer-to-peer learning techniques. See, reciprocal teaching is a peer-to-peer learning technique. Stations, also peer-to-peer, because you got to work within that group or within that set, within that defined set, because we may be moving to another station. We may be moving to yet another station after that. Same thing with reciprocal teaching. Now we're looking at the reading concepts, summarizing, predicting, clarifying, questioning. And we've got readers putting in together on this. So as you learn to clarify, I'm learning to summarize. As you learn to predict, I'm learning to clarify, and so forth. So again, peer-to-peer learning techniques. If you need to know more about those, definitely don't hesitate to hit me up. I love this information. As an instructional leader, it always brought me and brings me great joy to bring instructional strategies to educators and to leaders that they can use and to have the highest impact. It's nothing like when that light bulb goes off for an educator. We talk about that light bulb for teachers, for students all the time. We talk about that light bulb for students all the time. But what about that light bulb for educators? What about that light bulb for educators when they realize they have the power within themselves to be greater, that they can use these different strategies without fear? See, that's what it comes down to. Just like with anything, it comes down to being authentic. It comes down to having the courage of being unembarrassable, unirritable, and unoffendable. And when that happens, you're willing to go out on a ledge and try anything that you know works. And that's what it's all about as an educator, you all. Woo! We cooking tonight. I hope y'all with me. I hope you're with me, because you got to love this educational space. And those that have been with me and that keep coming after the first 31, and now we're on the 32nd week, I appreciate you all. I appreciate you all. And like, comment, subscribe, share, so that other people can also get this information. That's where we're going to empower others at, you all. And this is something that we don't really think about. And I can say this because it's something that I didn't even think about for a very long time. I was a full-fledged adult when I realized about metacognition. And this is a word that I've been dying to use here, you all, neuroplasticity. We want to teach our students, as well as our teachers, about neuroplasticity as well as metacognition. You say, Dr. Joe, what you talking about? Well, metacognition, that's thinking about what you're thinking. Why are you doing it? That's a skill. So it's a self-reflection tool. If I could teach my students to, number one, organize their thoughts in their head and then be able to go through them, that's a skill, because now we're teaching metacognition, being able to think about what you're thinking. This is powerful, y'all. And then we take that a step further and we talk about neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity. That is the ability to relearn over and over again, even if you learned it wrong. So often we get down, we don't realize that there are adjustments that can be made. And this goes in life as well as in education with this neuroplasticity piece. Because so many times we learn bad habits. So many times we learn the wrong way of operating, of doing things, of how even to exist in the world. But we can relearn it through neuroplasticity. You can expose yourself to the right people or to positive things and people. You can change the trajectory of those negative impacts. Neuroplasticity and metacognition. And our students deserve to know about those terms. They deserve to know that it exists, that you can relearn things, because again, it's going to apply not only to what they may have learned wrong in their English class or math class, or being able to reshape it, to add it to an additional piece of that particular skill. All of that's crucial, you all. So again, self-assessment. All right. Metacognition and neuroplasticity. And another strategy, create the optimal test environment for students. This got to be planned out. It's got to be thought about. You can't just throw them in the gym, throw them in the room. No. Don't do it. Now, there may be situations where you have to test in the gym in a big facility. But is there any way that you can break down your testing procedures where they're in classrooms, 15 to 20 to a room? You have your two proctors or what have you as you get prepared for state testing, EOY testing, ACT testing, SAT testing, other high stakes tests. Create an optimal learning environment. So, in addition to creating that optimal learning environment, you can take it a step further and do mock tests or simulated tests throughout. You don't want to over test, but you want them to have the feel or have a vision of what it might be like on test day. You say, what are you talking about, Dr. Joe? Well, as a peak performer, don't you want to see what the stadium is going to be like if you're preparing for the Super Bowl? If you're preparing to go do a speech for a big audience, don't you want to go and look out from the stage and see the people's faces or imagine the people's faces? All of this is crucial, you all. If you want to create an optimal test environment, put the students in the test environment, set it up where they can be successful. If you want to see your scores go up, this is one thing that you've got to do right now. You still got time as you prepare over the last month and a half, 2 months, preparing for state testing. Adjust that state testing plan. Make sure you got an optimal environment. Stay away from the big testing groups as much as possible. Create some smaller testing rooms, testing groups. I used to get parents to help proctor tests if we didn't have enough educators. Just make sure you go through the proper procedures to get them trained, have them sign off on the necessary information. Each state has those particular items prepared because they know that they're going to need other people often as well. And I guarantee you, at these high-performing schools, they're not testing 50 to the gym. They're not testing 100 people in the gym with 10 proctors. No, that's outdated. That's outmoded. That's of the past. So set your testing environment up for success. Think about it. What if only 5 of them do better in a smaller testing environment than those 10 that would have done worse in a bigger testing environment? You see what I'm saying? It just takes a little rethinking. It takes a little bit more work. It takes work to get out the gym. It takes work to set up a testing schedule, to get proctors available, to have parents volunteer or other community members volunteer so that we can get this done. But if you're trying to set students up to win, you're going to do just that. What are you doing right now to ensure that you promote continuous learning to improve test readiness in your school? I want to hear from you all. Like, comment, subscribe, share as well. But again, as always, we're here to empower. We're here to help. We're here to support. We're here to discuss, give ideas so that you can create what? A culture of collaboration. We know that collaboration wins. Now, I want to just go back real quickly, you all. One of the things that I charge you to do, is the action plan or strategy for growth moving forward. Action plan or strategy for continuous growth for yourself or for your team moving forward. Put it on paper. Put it together. The who, what, the when, the where, and the why. You need to know it. You need to know it. Growth mindset, action plan. Put it together, y'all. That's your charge for this week. Testing season, it should be a time to be reflective. You ought to be looking across the whole year to see what worked, what didn't work, what adjustments we can make. Again, don't stop and say we're waiting till next year. That's a sign that you're either satisfied with where you are, that you're giving up. There is no in between. If I just keep it on autopilot, I don't make the adjustments as a leader, as an educator, that means I'm satisfied with where we are, or I've given up. Because how are the students going to grow if we don't push the envelope, if we don't put them in situations where they can continuously grow? If we don't do the same for teachers, how can they grow? How can they continue to improve if we don't put them in a situation where they can improve? So crucial, you all. Again, that growth mindset is crucial, and we must embrace continuous learning if we're going to have longevity in leadership. I'm going to say that again. You must embrace continuous learning if you're going to have longevity in leadership. And again, continuous learning is not just professional development. No, it's not just professional development. It's making those on time, real time, in time adjustments. Also, it's continue to improve, continue to work toward bettering yourself. Also, that's what it comes down to, you all. So, want to read an excerpt, you all. As I've told you before, these next 12, 14 weeks, we coming out of Empowering Educational Communities, a guide for teacher-principal collaboration. Quickly want to kind of show you the limb or the arm that we're on. We're on the individuality and diversity. We talked about being a leader a couple of weeks ago. Last week, we talked about doing more than what our job is or title says as educators. And then today, we're talking about embracing student continuous learning. Want to read a quick excerpt, you all. Let me see, can I pull it up? Yeah, here it is. And then we're going to go into some more. Put that up for you all. And this is, I embrace continuous learning. I'm just going to read the first paragraph, you all, because it goes along with the things that we've talked about today. And again, in this particular book, each chapter comes with the professional development that matches. So you got professional development activities in the back of this book that helps you embrace continuous learning as an educator, helps a staff embrace continuous learning as an educator, and they can be adapted as needed. But if I embrace continuous learning as an educator, I'll embrace longevity as a leader. That's the opening quote. Learn, learn, learn. As educators, we must embrace the idea that humans never learn enough or too much. The brain is a computer and is meant to be overloaded with the amount of downloading that the brain does repetitively. One component of continuous learning is understanding that diversity broadens techniques and perspectives for both the short and the long term. As teachers and principals continue to embrace learning, because we learn through various modes of taking information, we allow ourselves room to continuously adapt, change, and adjust to remain relevant and up to date in the education world. Educators learn extensively through diversity principles, peer observations, conversations, and personal and professional development opportunities, you all. And it's loaded with more information as well. But I definitely want to ensure that I talk with you about that also. Now, as we continue, it looks like I'm frozen, you all. Am I frozen? I don't know. Okay, there I go. All right, you all. So again, I ask that you Reach out if you need any type of support, professional development, or what have you. That's why we're here. Again, I just want to be able to support, help, empower. I've had an opportunity to do some wonderful things as a leader, and I just want to make sure that I'm continuing to help and uplift as I should. Otherwise, please make sure you reach out. I definitely want to get this off of the stage if possible, but it's not coming off, so I'm gonna get ready here, you all, to prepare to close out. And as always, I want to leave you with a quick word. First off, the more we learn, the more we empower. The more we grow, the more we lead. The more educators grow, students win. So we ask that we are able to learn to lead with love in our heart, that we have the wisdom to grow, and that we have the courage to drive out fear. Dr. Joe signing off, you all, always speaking and writing life into you.